Welcome to the podcast show. We are now on part 2 of explaining the Matrix. Hopefully you get some great info from this, and let's dig into the episode. Society has made it normal to think that because it's your family or because it's this or that, your friend, whoever it is, you're supposed to really do nothing about it. Some people in your life may seem to help you, but don't, because they actually are trying to keep you grounded. Society has made it normal that it's okay to think that because it's your family or friend, you're supposed to not really do as much negative things to them. And mainly this goes to really family. Some people may seem as if they want to help you, but they're not trying to actually help you because they're trying to keep you grounded. Because they're either trying to protect you from what they don't want you to do, or they're just jealous of you. And that's just life in general, not just with your purpose, but just with life things in general. Some people may do things because they don't want to see you succeed, and sometimes they're trying to protect you, but it's also being a negative factor, but they're thinking it's being positive because, we want to be a great family member to you, we want to protect you, or we want to be a good friend, I want to protect you from this and that, but sometimes you gotta let that person go their own route. And with the Matrix, that's how it's set up. You're supposed to keep everybody grounded. One-on-one, one-on-one, one-on-one. You see that in the workforce, you see that with your family, you see that with your friends. A lot of successful people have gone down because the Matrix has pulled them down via the people they know. And it's really sad because so many successful people talk about how their parents, their family, their friends never believed in them or understood them, and it's sad. But it's okay, because that's part of the process for some successful people, because when things like that happen, that's supposed to help bring them up in their journey. You're supposed to have haters, so that's normal, but it's just sad that society has normalized that. Well, really, it's sad that society has serialized, not normalized, serialized that you should always take an advice from a friend or a family member, from a close friend or a family member, because you've known them for so many years, especially a family member, especially if they're older, taking that advice. But sometimes that advice may not help for that moment, or maybe not at all. It's just weird that we normalize that. We're all human. We all have to make our own decisions. We can't please everybody. And if you please everybody, you'll never get to where you want to get to. The next reason why the Matrix is really messed up is with the school system. The Matrix want to keep students to being stuck in that loop of learning nonsense and stuck in that loop of them being employees. Now, I want to tell you here that some schools now, maybe back then it was like that, but nowadays, from my experience and from other schools too, they're starting to give a lot of skills to learn, which is good. Even with trade school, you got trade school, but really, high schools now are really being like the trade schools now, because they're bringing in all those trades and skills to learn. Even with career schools, they got those as well. But to get back to what we're talking to here, I truly believe that the school system in some areas of America are really now updating to this new era of education, where you give students classes to take on their skills or trade that they want to learn to help in their workforce or just to help start a business. But there are still some schools that just give so many kids depression, anxiety, and all other stress disorders because they only give out normal classes with no big variety of electives, or probably none at all. Maybe not even career schools or anything. And then there are schools like mine that give diverse opportunities for careers like digital media, photography, theater, etc. But there are still these normal classes to take, such as English, history, the etc. I truly believe that the school system is conditioning students to just remember things and expect them to do it. But it's really bugging people. For me, as a junior this year, from experience, I just want to tell you that I was sick one week. I had the flu. And after I had the flu, it seemed like work was coming in even more worse, because I had to catch up on the work that I missed last week while also doing the work I'm doing the week after. Because, mind you, before I was even sick, we kept getting work basically every day once quarter 2 had started. When quarter 1 had started, of course, when the first quarter starts, they don't want to give you hard as much work, but it was every day. I understand that high school is normalized to do your work. I understand that. But when you're doing your work every day, that's not normal. My mom thought that, Brandon, that's just, you got to remember, that's just high school. That's high school. But no, that's not high school when you're getting work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. That is not normal. I even have a friend who I'm talking to who's saying college they're doing that. I understand college they should do that. But when you're in high school doing that, that's just kind of weird. And sometimes I think they do that because they're prepping high school as a new college, because with this day and age, you don't really need a college degree to be successful. So I guess they treat high school as the new college now in this day and age. But either way, that's just too much work to do for a student. And I've known from experience talking to other students being in my school, they say that the work is really bugging them and that they've been sick probably for good 1 week. Sometimes there were some people I knew who were sick for 2 weeks who said that after they came back, the work was so ridiculous. And it's crazy. When I told my mother that and she saw my results and my grades, she finally then realized that, oh, it's a problem. These teachers need to stop, or the system needs to stop. Now, I don't want to get off track here, but I want to go back to what my mother said earlier before she had known that I was lying. She was just, not over exaggerating. She was saying, well, hey, that's just high school, but it's sad. Even if you didn't have 5 days of work, even if you had 3 days of work, it's sad that the education system wants kids to do work that may not help them. The system needs to stop with what it's doing. Be the district, the higher-ups, the teachers, I don't know who, but they have to stop assigning the work every day for these students, or just hard labor work mentally for them, because they have other things they have to do. Some kids may have sports they have to do. Some kids may have jobs they may have to do to take care of their families because of this pandemic. The epidemic has messed up so much things with the economic system. It's sad. And these teachers expect you to get your work done. People don't understand that a kid's perspective when it comes to school. You don't even know what they're dealing with. They could be going to school and dealing with bullying while also dealing with schoolwork, while also probably dealing with a job they have to work, take care of their little brother or sister. You don't know what nobody's brain is. And that's why I say it's ridiculous how for years we serialized that it's okay to do a lot of work in high school. It's okay to do a lot of work as you get up there. Oh yeah, when you get a lot of work, you're going to have to get up there. It's sad. And people don't understand that that's training employees, because that's what employees are going to be doing when they work jobs. They're going to have to consistently do their work. There's been a lot of successful people and a lot of quotes also, not from people, but just quotes in general that people have made, where it's just that school can help build successful employees. And the people who don't focus on school as much are going to become great entrepreneurs, great successful people in whatever they're trying to do. I'm not telling you that you should just let your grade be a failing grade, no. But pass, but don't try to put too much effort into it to the point where you bust your brain. But I really think that exams and the normal core classes are really outdated. I believe that in your elementary years, you should start learning English, math, history, and science. Take those in your elementary years. But I believe once you at least hit middle school, or maybe, just maybe high school at least, those 3 classes out of those 4 classes should be optional. I believe English should always be essential. But in my way, how I see it is that I believe by the time you're in high school, it shouldn't be you just reading boring books. It should be you reading books that are in your interest, learning your vocabulary, and also doing creative things like creative writing, creative stories, creative poems. Because in 8th grade, I had this teacher that was very creative, and it changed my whole perspective of how I do ELA in English. Because before English, it used to always be boring, but when I went to her class, we were always creative. And ever since then, that inspired me to become the creative writer, the creative speaker I am today. If you be creative with your kids, if the system start allowing kids to be creative, things will be better. But why can't kids be creative? Because the system has organized it. I forgot this guy who said this quote, but I'll have a screenshot of it. One of the early pioneers of the education system was John D. Rockefeller. He said, quote, "I don't want a nation of thinkers, but I want a nation of workers." Which brings me back to what I've said, is that the school system is setting up a lot of workers. And that's a big quote that has been used through a lot of people, saying that that quote is really defining the school system. And that's how it is. Like I said, back then, that's how it was. But I believe now we're trying to get there. But if it keeps being the way it is, where, but if some school systems are still teaching where it's like that, a lot of kids are just going to get tired of it. And I don't want to say this, but this is my prediction here. I think in the future, high school might be irrelevant. Because if the work keeps being hard for some of these kids, if they keep going to school depressed, miserable, tired, they're not going to like it. And well, for us as Gen Z, we're people that want value in what we do. So by the time we're adults, we may be the parents that are telling our kids like, hey, it don't matter. That's just my opinion though. I truly believe you should finish a high school diploma so you can succeed in this world. And truly that's how it was back then. I do believe totally now it's different. And now they're preparing kids for the workforce, but in a way where they can figure out where they want to work at instead of just trying to just work for the man for a basic job. They're giving you skills to learn. And these skills can help you either work on a job with that skill or have your own business. Like, for example, if you're learning welding, you can learn it so that you can work under a company, or you can learn it so that you can have or start your own company, giving you more options. And that's great because now that's building up somewhat of creativity, because creativity isn't always content. Creativity can be you being a contractor, can be you being a cosmetologist, whatever it is. So teaching kids these skills can prepare them for either, like I say, the workforce or their own business. And that's why this day and age, school isn't as bad as how you think it is when it comes to that side of it. But there are still cons to it with bullying and countless schoolwork. But if some schools just update to what my school is doing, things could be way better for students. And back to the classes, with history, they have to change it too. When you're learning history a lot, all they're talking about is slavery, colonization, and Indians. Sad. Nobody wants to hear that same thing every time. In school, they never teach you historical things that are up to date. They never teach you about maybe a Hispanic person who's successful or maybe a black person who's successful. All they're talking about is the old ancient things, and that's ridiculous. Teach something different. Sorry for the poor quality, but I also believe that economics and finances and things like that should be integrated into schools. But when you're learning about the average history things, those should be gone to a certain point. Because as this recording, I am now second quarter, and some of the stuff I said about school kind of contradicts what I'm saying now. And it seems like the things we're learning are actually helping us, some of it. So I just want to just put that back in and tell you that having economics and U.S. government, those are some that I believe are important, and that are important in life in general, so you can know about taxes and things like that. Like in 6th grade, they taught us about the mythologies like Greek, Norse, all those mythologies. Now I'm kind of used to them because of God of War. So, you got to really teach the students different things. And like I said, I believe English should be essential because of the creative things. But if school was 100% creative, and also if they make U.S. government, economics, and just financial literacy more important to school as well for their students, there would be no exams, with the core classes being optional. What I actually mean to say now to my future self, which is me right now in the future, I want to tell you that past me wasn't thinking right. What I actually meant now as an optional for core classes, science and math should be optional, and history, economics, government, tax-related classes, and English should be important. And with English being mandatory, if school was like that, the world will be a better place. It will produce more creative kids rather than average kids who would later just turn into being employees for somebody, for a company or whatever. When you force kids to work in stuff that they're not interested in, they also have to use that work as a practice for exams. It's not just training them as if were in a 9 to 5, but also brings them anxiety, depression, and many other stress disorders that many 9 to 5 workers have, or at least some. They get the pressures from their customers and their bosses, just like how students get the pressure from their parents and their teachers and their peers sometimes. That's why I always say that the school system and the job system correlates in a way. It really does. Now, the modern school system is somewhat does and it somewhat doesn't. Like I say, depending on your school, if your school teaches you trades and things, you're on the right track. If your school is still just having a normal, boring school, then what the heck? But like I say, that's just the matrix of how school system is and how it's capitalized. But I think it is trying to do better because a lot of people are realizing that these kids need to learn their skills. So hopefully one day in the future, all schools in America learn that training kids to be employees is not the right way. Training them to learn a skill is way better. Now this one may shock you right here. I always talk positive about this one, but social media. So I know I always talk positive about social media, but here's the difference between why I talk negative about it and positive. The reason why I talk positive about it is because you can be creative with it. Most of the time it really is a good thing if you use it as a creative. But as a consumer, it's a negative thing because when you're consuming the wrong content, it can really lead you on the wrong path. And I think either if you're a creative or a consumer, it's still bad because the pressure of people and content can really get you places depending on how you use the social media platform. And I truly believe that if you're a creator or consumer, it doesn't matter. Comparison, bullying, imposter syndrome are big examples of how people lead to suicide and other conditions through social media. Social media can also cause you to condition you, just like how I said about the news in part 1. Social media is a new way of news and it can condition your brain to be aware of certain things because the more you consume content, the more you're pumping up your dopamine levels in your brain, especially with reels, shorts, and TikToks. All that swipe, swipe, swipe. For consumers, it's really scary because social media can cause a lot of mental issues where people forget or even gain anxiety. And from experience, I can tell you that it's nothing good because I've been on TikTok before, been a consumer way before I was a creative. You know, that was around, because I know I didn't have TikTok or nothing before the pandemic. Once the pandemic started, I started, being a social media guy as a consumer. And I'm telling you, it's not good, especially now with the YouTube Reels and stuff, because stuff that I'm interested in, because I watch mostly motivational content, which isn't bad, but, I shouldn't sit there and just watch all that content all day because that can damage up my brain, my dopamine receptors and everything, And social media is really bad for the modern men in this society because social media is basically, and I'm going to say it here, excuse me for what I'm about to say, social media is soft porn for some people. There is so much variety of reasons why social media is bad, and that's why I'm going to lay it out right here briefly. Number 1, like I say, is soft porn for the men. Number 2, it's making women be conditioned as more of a tool than a person because they can make money showing their bodies to all these guys. They can literally be using their body as a tool, which is bad because the men will look at them as a reward and the lady just looks at it as more money for her. And that's bad that they're capitalizing on that because that's just not good. Social media is also bad because you have cyberbullying. People can bully others, especially from school, especially from something, and it can cause a lot of sad things to go on. And then another reason why social media is bad is because, like I said, the dopamine levels in your brain pumping you up for content that you like, rather if it's that type of content I just said, or either just me watching motivational content, or maybe a person watching gaming content of gamers. Whatever it is, whatever you're interested in, you're pumping up your blood and your brain to think that you're getting rewarded constantly. But like I said, there's so much reasons why social media is bad, because it is bad. I truly believe you shouldn't delete social media, but I do believe you should take breaks with the apps. I also believe that you should change up the content you're watching and unfollow anyone who's not bringing you value or either bringing positivity in your life. Rather if it's a celebrity or someone you know, family, friend, etc. It's sad that modern women are thinking that showing their bodies is making them successful for more money, but that's bad because they're being a bad example for the other woman. You don't have to just be that, They can be something else. I don't know what women could do. I'm just speaking from what is going on in this modern world. Women don't have to just be slaves. Women doesn't have to just be a body. Women don't just have to show their body. They can do more successful things that's better than that. And it capitalizes so much on women that women think that their body is money. And it's sad because they're conditioning themselves to think that that's their money, that's the way they pay their bills, get their bread. And then also for the men, they're thinking that, oh, when they see a woman, ooh, that's their reward after coming from a hard day of work, or this and that, this and that. But it's messed up. Men and women shouldn't be used through money and trade and things. Men and women are made for each other in person, to be married, not to be among yourself, sell your body for money, and vice versa. The guy beat himself and enjoy himself by himself. That's not normal. That's not how human beings should work and act. And that's why today social media can be so crazy. Sometimes people can just post crazy stuff on there and just do dumb stuff. Some people can just do cyberbullying, bully others for no reason. Sometimes they use that platform as a way just to get that negativity out there, just to alert people with bad news. There are so many variety of reasons why social media is bad. Those are the ones I just listed, but there are many more too. I truly believe you shouldn't delete it, but you should at least take breaks and change up the content you watch and unfollow the people that don't bring you value in your life, that don't bring positivity in your life, rather if it's a celebrity or someone you know, friend, family, etc. But back to the perspective of the men, like I say once again, the men who consume social media like that is really being persuaded in the wrong way. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe.